springtime. Now there's an autumn. There was a sunrise. Oh, now there's the sunset. Oh, the human nature. Oh, living nature. Oh, diminish, decrease, dry out. They're turning into winter, blue, stiff, dead cold, from being young to getting old. Oh, 'cause you see, there's nothing that we can hold, nothing we can control. Still want to keep it a private secret, to whisper only into the branches of old oaks, into the mouth of frogs, into the sullen ground. Oh, into the mist that flows around, straight into old black holes that was ever made, and make the black turn green, and the green turn brown, and then the brown slowly fades into black again. Na-na-na. So that the whisper, so that the whisper goes silent, and everything stops. To start over and over and over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Oh, and so it goes and turns and freeze and burn
Welcome to the Last Minute Show. This was Enter Part 1 from Fire Orchestra's latest album, Enter. I have to thank my partner in love and crime for introducing me with this band and with this album. Today I would like to speak about certain connections between Gezi Uprising and what happened afterwards, and a couple of performance pieces or performative moments. I had this opportunity to think about this specific subjects within the span of the last week, actually, thanks to the start of the school, back to school, and especially within the frame of a course entitled Performance and the State. So lately and in the closer future, I'm involved in this thinking process about the relationship between power, state, violence, government, resistance, activism, and theater and performance. So the most obvious example that I first thought about was the relationship between Antigone as a myth, as a tragedy, and the recent events in Turkey, especially the events that happened in the duration of Gezi uprising and its echoes in a way. So you might remember that I have made this program in 2013 in June regarding the progress of the uprising, the start and the development of the events. And I think I remember that I also covered Berkin Elvan, who was shot by a tear gas canister and then fell comatose. We lost him in after 9 months, actually, and I'm not sure if I was able to talk about this back then. So now that I have the opportunity and I have thought about this in time, I think I may communicate what happened, how they happened, and what kind of effect all these things left to me. But also, how can we view this violence and this loss with certain perspectives? Although, I mean, it's a contradiction, and it feels even unethical at moments to think about this academically, theoretically. One has to give a name to it. One has to give meaning, give frame, give structure to this to this experience. In a way, it's not even an experience. Actually, it hits you. It comes to you rather than you experiencing it. But I don't know what else to say. What other name to give to this? And if you want to move from silence into something that someplace that you actually think and talk about this, I guess you need this in the symbolic crutches. Although I'm still not sure about the moral stability of what I will be doing now. It's just one way to start a conversation. And the conversation is not only between me and other people, but also between my feelings and my conscience, and also my future actions, I guess. Because how you go through something, some terrible thing, affects your behavior in the future. I guess. It makes you less competent or more active, aggressive, I don't know. So the paper is it is written in a I'm sorry, it is written in a in academic frame, obviously, and it has this rhetoric specificity to it. But I tried to make it sound as casual as possible, or at least as sincere as possible. So, and I will be reading it from paper, but I will try to introduce the side notes as frequently as I can, and I also play some videos, some records of the events that I'm talking about. You won't get to see the videos, obviously, but even the sounds, those meaningless words to you, non-Turkish speakers, will, I think, convey the feeling, convey the affect that all these events carried with them. And then from Antigone and Berkin Erdogan's death, I will jump to another relation of state and performance. Namely, it's again about the Gezi and aftermath of Gezi. I will speak about Thomas Ostermeyer's piece, Enemy of People, Ibsen's adaptation, and how its performance in Turkey created this wave, for better or worse, and how can we understand this specific moment in time, and how actually a performance can be powerful in a way, with a certain dramaturgy and certain location in time and place. So it's also another entry point for me to think about both the general concept of performance and state, but also specifically about Gezi and what Gezi did, and how the Gezi performed even after it actually waned. So I hope that this will serve as a remembrance of all these immediate events that we went through and we couldn't actually grasp the total meaning of, and we quickly forgot, because we did quickly forget. At least what I observe in the Turkish youth is a disillusionment. They raised so high and they fell really hard. I mean, I'm saying they, but I'm also one of them. We thought that we were really starting a revolution, but it was quickly torn down, and now we are not even thinking about it. Right? For example, I have seen this. I have seen this graffiti. Fuck Gezi, fight now. It's so true, yes. But with forgetting what we have been through, I think we can't fight. So, and I'm not nostalgic about anything. Nostalgia makes you motionless. But I think memory is important. As I said, as long as you give memory to what you have lived, it prepares you for the future, in a good way or in a bad way. So let's put these comments aside and move on to the topics at hand. In her article, Antigone's Political Legacies, Tina Chanter foregrounds Antigone's story and the character as an inspiration for freedom fighters, against the grain of their Hegelian as well as psychoanalytical readings. While the latter camp posits the Antigone as the other of the state, meaning the family or the monstrous uncanny, Chanter insists that Antigone stands as the possibility of a politics to come. My example will support Chanter's argument, and Helene Foley and Erin Means examples on how Antigone prefigures the individual insurgents against injustice and state violence, although with less hopeful resolutions. In June 2013, thousands of people from a variety of political and social organizations, as well as non-associated civilians, started an uprising to defend, at first, the urban rights against the oppressive legislations of the governing party, AKP. The Gezi uprising expanded in a rather short time, voicing justice demands for citizens, including but not limited to LGBTs, Kurdish population, Alevi believers, laborers, precarious, and women. The very reason for the quick inflammation of the protests was the police force's excessive violence, using tear gas bombs as guns, attacking with water cannons from short distances. And these attacks continued with increasing violence without any concern for other civilians, let alone the protesters, who by then were marked by the Prime Minister as marauders or çapulcu. Some of you may remember my Gezi program. I played these songs about çapulizm, so you may remember that. Çapulcu is the Turkish equivalent of marauders, obviously. So, although the main hub of protests was Taksim Square, the police had been attacking to other notorious quote-unquote zones incessantly due to their inhabitants' political and religious backgrounds. These backgrounds being Kurdish population, Kurdishness or Alevi believers. It was after the second week of the protests when Berkin Elvan, a 14-year-old boy, was shot from the back of his head by a tear gas canister at 7 a.m. on his way to the bakery in his neighborhood, Ok Meydanı, which is a highly politicized neighborhood including diverse left-wing groups and Alevites. He immediately fell comatose and remained so for 269 days. In the meantime, Berkin's family tried each and every judicial and bureaucratic mechanism to find the policeman who shot Berkin deliberately. Deliberately, because the use of these tear gas guns are normally highly prescribed with distance and angle limits. The police headquarters and the Ministry of Interior Affairs have so far managed to hide the responsible policeman and his chief officer from trial. Upon her desperation, Berkin's mother, who waited her son lying between life and death for 269 days, held the Prime Minister as the real perpetrator of the social unrest and his son's murder. Berkin succumbed to death down to 14 kilos after 9 months of coma. By that time, the protests had already been violently seized, but thousands of people converged again for his funeral. Berkin's mother put carnations and marbles on his tomb, signifying the innocence of her child. No sooner than he was buried, the police attacked the mourners again with immense power, scattering this huge crowd in a matter of 20 minutes. And I want to play you a video of the funeral ceremony.
Eczane paraları.
Gidelim mi?
Yolumuz devrim yolu gelin kardeşlerim. Yurdumuza faşist olmuş vurun kardeşler vurun. Yurdumuza faşist olmuş vurun kardeşler vurun.
Adamı açsınlar artık. Yeter artık. Bu kapıyı açsınlar. Kapıyı açın.
So this video actually starts showing the funeral ceremony, people chanting together, and then the police attacked immediately. So the patting sounds that you heard, or the noisy sounds, were actually the tear gas canisters getting shot and the water cannons spreading water with pressure, high pressure. And in the afterwards, the cameraman hides to a shop basically with other people, and you can hear their coughing. So this is only one from many funeral videos shot that day. I'll continue. Later that day, another boy of 22, Burak Karamanoğlu, was killed near Ok Meydanı, allegedly in a fight. He was from another district, Kasımpaşa, which is home to the Prime Minister's family, as well as mainly lower-class families. and notoriously representative of paternal behavior code. So basically, the men from this neighborhood boasted of their manhood, boasted of their hardness. You know, the district has this kind of cultural significance in a way. And Prime Minister also was one of them, who boasted about being from Kasımpaşa and so on. The first and still unverified implication in the mainstream media was that Burak died in a fight between a group of Kasımpaşa-based AKP voters and members of left-wing groups living in Ok Meydanı. However, how, why, and by whom Burak was killed has not been clarified yet. Three days after Berkin's funeral and Burak's death, the Prime Minister Tayyip Erdoğan made a meeting in the city of Gaziantep. And Gaziantep is a really distant from Istanbul, actually. This city has no specific relationship to Istanbul, what has happened to Istanbul. But Tayyip Erdoğan was in the tour for municipality elections that was upcoming in the same month of March, and basically he had this meeting in this context in Gaziantep, but he preferred to talk about recent events instead of talking about his promises about the new municipality government. And he did not forget to mention the recent events, as I said. In his speech, he accused Berkin's mother of complying with terrorists, inviting the catcalls and boos from the supporting crowd. So I will first play the video of this speech, so you will get to sense what kind of motivation he had in his delivery, and then I will later tell you the translation of his speech.
Holding patronları marjinal lojistik sağlıyor bunlara. CHP. İşte geçenlerde bir tane holding kapılarını açmış, diyor ki kaçanlar bizim mağazalara gelsin. Kardeşlerim, bakınız işte geçenlerde İstanbul'da bir cenaze yaşandı. Maalesef terör örgütlerinin içine aldığı, terör örgütlerinin içinde ne yazık ki yüzü poşulu, eline sapan verilmiş, cebinde demir bilyelerle olan bir çocuk orada maalesef bir biber gazına o da muhatap oluyor. Kardeşlerim, polis orada yüzü poşulu, elinde sapanla demir bilyeleri savuran o kişinin kaç yaşında olduğunu nereden ayıracak? Ama bu Kılıçdaroğlu her zamanki gibi yalanını söylüyor. Ne diyor? Ekmek almaya giden çocuk diyor. Dürüst ol, dürüst. Ne ekmek alması? Ne alakası var? Ve çok enteresan. Annesi diyor ki evladımın katili başbakan diyor. Ben evlada sevgiyi, muhabbeti bilirim ama sizin evladınızın mezarına karanfil ve demir bilye atışınızı pek anlamadım. O demir bilyeyi acaba niçin atıyorsun evladının mezarına? Neyin mesajını veriyorsun? Aynı şeyi baba söylüyor. Bakın biz başka baba da tanıdık. Ve DHKPC terör örgütü o akşam geliyorlar, benim eski muhitim. Oradan geçerken gecenin karanlığında, daha 3 ay oldu askerden geleli, Burak yavrumuzu maalesef orada şehit ediyorlar. Burakcan'ın elinde sapan yoktu. Burakcan'ın elinde silah yoktu. Sadece evinin önünde olan bu yavruyu orada şehit ediyorlar ve sokakta toplanan kovan sayısı 42. 42. Bunlar bu teröristlerle el ele iş tutuyorlar. Ve o yavrumuzu öldürenler işte Kılıçdaroğlu'nun gayri resmi illegal cellatlarıdır, bunu böyle biliniz.
So the translation is as follows. I won't read you as he speaks, of course. The main opposition party is supporting and funding these unrests. In the meantime, a boy, face covered with a scarf and metal marbles in his pocket, receives the tear gas canister. And here I want to add that Berkin wasn't wearing a face cover, nor it would make any difference if he did, as everyone was covering their face during those tear gas filled days. And not to mention, he didn't have metal marbles in his pocket whatsoever. I continue. The police had no means to tell the age of this face-covered boy with slingshot in his hand. His mother says, "The Prime Minister is the murderer of my son. I understand the love of child, but I don't understand your putting carnations and steel marbles on his tomb." And again, I want to interrupt. Berkin's mother didn't put steel marbles to his tomb, and it was Berkin's friends who put plastic play marbles, those that kids play, to his tomb. So he's obviously manipulating. And at this point, actually, at the moment that the Prime Minister speaks about Berkin's mother, the crowd starts to boo. I continue. "Why are you putting it to your son's tomb? Same thing the father says. We know other fathers too. Look, the DHKPC group, which is an allegedly radical leftist organization, comes to my old neighborhood, and in the dead of the night, martyrize our son Burak right there, who returned from military service 3 months ago. Burak didn't have slingshots in his hand. He didn't have a gun in his hand. But they martyrized him there, and the number of barrels found there was 42. They, implying Berkin's family, are collaborating with these terrorists." Almost coinciding with the speech of Prime Ministers, Burak's father stated that he phoned Berkin's family, claiming Berkin is also his son. Not allowing the dead be buried has been a ruling tradition in Turkey. Cumartesi anneleri, Saturday mothers, inspired by Mothers of Plaza del Mayo in Argentina, the mothers and wives of those who had been abducted and disappeared by the state forces in Turkey, have been gathering every Saturday since 1995 in demand for the return of their family members, dead or alive. The gatherings have been interrupted for a couple of years. They had this hiatus, but it still continues. Most of these abductees were politically active Kurdish and Alawite civilians. So I want to play a video regarding Cumartesi anneleri, Saturday mothers.
Çıkan bir oğlum vardı.
405. kez Galatasaray'dayız. 405 haftadır kayıplarımızın bulunması, akıbetlerinin açıklanması ve faillerinin yargı önüne çıkartılıp cezalandırılması için buradan yetkilileri görevlerini yapmaya çağırıyoruz.
Yani o minibüse koydu, ondan sonra atışa verdi yani. Ben babamın, amcamın cenazesi görmedim. Çok izledim. Sonuna kadar ben peşindeyim yani. Yani ben Tayyip Erdoğan yakası hayatta bırakmayacağım yani. Yani ne hakkı vardı biz sahipsiz bıraktı. Annem kör oldu. Kardeşim hepsi küçüktü. Kaç sene ben bu yani bu Taksim'e geldim. Bir hava alamadım.
So in the video, the last thing that you heard was the woman whose relative or husband, I'm not sure, were abducted, and she was saying that until I found him, I won't leave Tayyip Erdoğan in rest. I will pursue this forever. And obviously, I think you can hear the pain in her sound and feeling of powerlessness. I continue. It was almost a wild joke when Egemen Bağış, the Minister of the European Relations of Turkey, tweeted the following during those days in which Berkin was buried and Burak was killed. The necrophiliacs who are disturbed by the end of terror and target the resolution process will get their answers in the election day on March 30th. Here he implies the negotiations with Kurdistan Workers' Party, the organization that has fought against Turkish army for the last 30 years and labeled as the biggest terrorist group in Turkey up to very recent times. So basically he's putting this forward as their accomplishment, as his party's accomplishment. And here the necrophiliacs in this case also include those mourning women, Saturday mothers, who ask for the bodies of their loved ones and who seek real justice and truth to be public for 20 years. In her article in Me and Folly's book, Antigone on the Contemporary World Stage, Serap Erencin very briefly touches upon Kurdish struggle for equality and freedom of language in connection with Şahika Tekan's take on Antigone, Eurydice's Cry. Tekan's play was more about the choreography of resilience accompanied by an abstract design of words, architecture and lighting, and it was not giving obvious or specific references to Turkey or the contemporary world. Last year, a new adaptation from Sophocles' text was made by theatre maker Celal Mordeniz, with the entirety of the play performed in Kurdish by the major Kurdish city Diyarbakır's Municipality Theatre. From the program notes, we learn that each character is acted by all the other characters in the play. Everybody is Antigone or Ismene or Creon. Unfortunately, I was not present in the performances of Kurdish Antigone. Yet, as a citizen and scholar, I have had a similar yearning for a Kurdish version of Antigone's story for years. 2 days ago, also coincidentally, I learned from my friend Stefano that Italian company Motus also made an Antigone adaptation based on the events in the aftermath of 16-year-old Alexis's death in Greece. Reading about this production was also striking for me, for in addition to joining protests in Istanbul after Alexis's murder, I also witnessed the support of the people of Greece when they sent their sympathies and condolences upon Berkin's death, drawing on the similarity. The unfortunate similarity, of course. In Turkey, the authority, with its voice and violence, not only criminalizes any resistance and protest, that is almost a given, but also defames and attacks the dead and their mourners. In Sophocles' text, Creon understands his mistake and faces with his tyranny, even if it's too late, and even for the person after personal losses of Eurydice and Hermon. This is the tragic in this text, the crushing of crayons and therefore human laws, hubris, and claim of rightness by its own eventual conscience. Antigone indeed transgresses the limit of this law and defies it in the name of what she asserts from the very beginning of the events, without any means to hide or manipulate her actions, and her openness contaminates the chorus and to finally convince Creon of his wrong. One can say that this is not against, but within the realm of political, or as Chanter asserts, Antigone opens the sphere for the community and its law to come through her unwavering determination and self-sacrifice. By the time Berkin and Burak died, the Gezi resistance and its fight for a better life, for true equality and citizenship rights had already been vain, in spite of the fact that Erdogan's speeches were constantly presenting the uprising as an imaginary civil war between us, Sunni Turkish AKP voters, and them, all the rest. On the other hand, Berkin's mother, the funeral crowd, or the Saturday mothers were and have been only trying to part with their dead, seek some peace of mind, give some meaning to their loss up against the sheer and utterly lawless violence. Even that was criminalized and continues to be so to this day. As the Prime Minister sees himself as an extension of the public will thanks to his votes by 50%, the limits of political sphere and justice seems rather contracted. The energy of the uprising has been violently suppressed, and a terrible inertia and powerlessness prevails in most of the oppositional organizations and groups. And maybe this is not sociologically correct to say this because I don't have any verification for this sentence, for this observation. But I'm basing this to my experience, to my conversations with people. Although Berkin's mother or the Saturday mothers continue their resistance through every form of public and judiciary actions possible, contrary to Antigone's fated death, neither the politics to come has arrived, nor the performative space to imagine it has opened. So closing my essay, I would like to throw some questions in there. What if representative democracy, and not only tyranny, is that very limit of politics? What if the public will is the common, ritual blindness to difference, to human rights? What if the government is still, in the neoliberal bipolitical age, to regulate the death? How can we construct or reconstruct the story in which Antigones can contaminate the chorus and its will today? So for me, Ostermeyer's work is another extension of the questions that I pose at the end of this paper. In my opinion, Antigone is no longer a problem of the tyranny of one-man rule of fascism. It's also a problem of it's a problem of fascism, yes, but the source of it is the chorus, the public itself, not those men who rule in their own whims. It's always about the common opinion, the public opinion, the compact majority, as Ibsen says in his play. So maybe I should a bit summarize The Enemy of People for those who don't know the story. In Ibsen's text, you have this family, Stockmann's, Dr. Stockmann's family and his brother, the mayor of this city in which they live. They are opening this bath, the public bath, and Dr. Stockmann figures out that the baths are contaminated because of the pollution from the tannery in the town, and he was so excited to give this news to everyone so that people will be saved from this contamination and everything will be corrected. But it requires a huge investment to be made, and the mayor, doctor's brother, tries to convince him into not publishing this, not exaggerating the results that he found in the laboratory. But the doctor persists for what he believes to be true, and he tries to publish his findings in the newspaper. And the newspaper editor actually supports doctor at first. He is so excited about this result because obviously it would create a scandal, a shock, and it would increase the newspaper's sellings. But the mayor goes to the newspaper office and convinces people not to publish it, that it would be a problem for the security of the majority of people, because if the baths should be renewed, it will be on the town people's expense. And the news editor and the workers don't dare to publish it. And then doctor starts his own fight, individual fight against this injustice and this shading of the truths. And he tries to converge the townspeople, and he manages to do so thanks to his captain friend. But the people, the gathering, doesn't ever allow him, the doctor, to speak at first. They blur and blurb the discussion, but then doctor manages to speak, and he basically gives this long rant against public will, public opinion, the majority's stupidity, and how actually the intelligent people should rule against the Mongols, I guess that's the word that Ibsen uses, against the majority of Mongols. And obviously the public in a way dismisses him and excludes him. But in the end, Doctor feels really empowered because he gets to, he says that as I'm alone, I am the strongest man in the world, and he tries to spread his ideas, spread his pursuit of truth to other townspeople, other underdogs in the town. And that's how the play ends. Ostermeyer, on the other hand, modernizes the play, and gives the acting a realistic tint, and of course the main divergence from the original Ibsen play is the ending of the play. So in the end, the doctor's father-in-law buys the stocks of the baths to blackmail the mayor, and then he gives these stocks to his son-in-law, and a doctor and his wife doesn't know what to do with these stocks. They can make a huge money off of it if they keep silent, or they can just ruin everything. So the play ends with this indecision. And towards the end of the play, there's this forum scene. You remember the gathering of the townspeople. In that scene, instead of this elitistic rant, Ostermeyer's Dr. Stockman delivers an anarchistic speech by this invisible committee. I think if you Google it, you can find this anarchistic text about the economy and about democracy. So it basically says economy is not in crisis, economy is the crisis. The consumerism is the crisis, and it's actually like puts the blame on the people, not only the capitalists, not only on the rulers. And then at that point, the play is either right before his speech or in the middle of his speech. The gathering opens to the spectators, and it becomes a forum theater. But the actors keep their acting in a way. They don't resolve into their own personalities, but they keep the character. And the spectator is invited to speak, give opinion about this debate between the doctor and the mayor, truth and the public will in a way. And then they, after a forum of 10 minutes, let's say, they keep the play again to the scene, and they go on and they end. And this is more or less the main characteristics of Ostermeyer's production. The performance and scene design is quite minimalistic, actually, compared to Ostermeyer's other reworkings and adaptations, meaning that it wasn't spectacular. It was almost austere. So you would see a scene created by chalk drawings on black platforms on the backstage, and in the town's meeting, the actors would whitewash these black platforms, meaning the whitewashing of the truth by the politics. So I watched this production at BAM in New York, Brooklyn Academy of Music, in last year during this time in October or November. And right at the end of it, I was telling my friends that it resembles so much to the Gezi forums. And then I learned that in May 2014, at the end of May, the production toured to Istanbul and played in the in Istanbul Theatre Festival, and a right-wing newspaper attacked the play. So I wrote a small text about this progress of the events, connecting it to the daily course of Turkish politics, and how interesting it gets through this coincidental dramaturgical situation. After seeing it at BAM, the forum scene felt so much alike with the park forums we held in various neighborhoods in Istanbul during and after the uprising. Our forums had a distinctive communication vocabulary through movements. Every meeting started with making up the agenda, and accordingly, people who had a say had their names written in a list and spoke in turns. The listeners reacted with shaking their hands if they agree, or making a cross with their arms if they don't, and make circles if they wanted the speaker to speed up. Those forums made minor changes, not big ones, but they became a signature of civil dissent, where people gathered and spoke about what is wrong in their immediate environment or in larger society. The uprising started with an urban conflict, after all. The Prime Minister wanted to build a shopping mall in the city center, Gezi Park. And the people who participated in the resistance also included workers, who were not only overworking and underpaid, but also victims of insecure work environments. Turkey ranks number 1 in Europe and number 3 in the world in labor deaths. Every day, a median of 4 people die in work-related accidents, quote unquote, which is a result of lack of inspection and greed. In fact, the factories and firms who are responsible for this are either run by the friends and relatives of the ruling party members, or bribe the inspection units, or sometimes even get the license to inspect their own working environments. And actually, very recently, on September the 7th, 10 workers died in a lift accident in a construction site, and the engineers and the workers have been reporting that this lift didn't work properly, and in the end 10 people died, and they were forced in the construction site was forced into a 24-hour work. So it's almost it's illegal to my knowledge, but they got this leave to do that. I don't know how. And obviously the owners of this construction site are friends of the Prime Minister, and they don't get any kind of legal punishment for what happened to 10 people. So in Ibsen's play, you can clearly see the neoliberal condition of working and ruling as well. The mayor, for example, were really concerned, if you believe, that the baths will, the reconstruction of the baths will cost a lot of money, but also it would make the people unemployed for a while, because the baths should have to be closed down, and it would be bad for the economics of the society. On the other hand, keeping the baths open and not revealing this information about its sanitary condition, they basically endangered the lives of everyone. And this is what happens in neoliberalism, basically. So it's so interesting that Ibsen's play addresses what we are now undergoing more than a century ago. And Absorb Myers is really successful in catching this essence. The Enemy of People has actually been, Ibsen's play has actually been staged by Turkish groups, but I haven't seen any of the performances, and I doubt that they would be free adaptations or contemporary adaptations. This radical right-wing newspaper, Yeni Şafak, only made a fuss about this play in the Ostermeyer's version. And by the way, this newspaper also targeted many other theater and art pieces before, and their coverages have been effective in their prompt ban or censoring of these works. And even worse, they targeted the Armenian journalist Hrant Dink for months, and in the end he was assassinated. So you can grasp how terrible this can get. Some of you might remember the Soma coal mine accident, quote unquote, in which 301 people, according to the official numbers, died. Probably much more people died in this disaster and in this murder, I would say. Ostermeyer's piece was shown a couple of weeks after that in Turkey. And 2 days before the uprising's first anniversary, actually, it was on the 30th of May. A friend of mine who worked at the festival in which this production was presented told me that the production involved a subtle reference to the Soma disaster. The Prime Minister's counselor, Yusuf Yerkel, kicked a guy from Soma who wanted to protest the government officials who arrived at the scene a couple of days after the mine disaster. And the image of this person, the counselors, kicking the guy who fell to the ground, actually, he was really defenseless. It became really notorious, and Ostermeyer asked one of his actors, and I'm guessing that probably it's the mayor, do a similar gesture of kicking. and this reference only lasted a second, and everyone got the meaning. And that newspaper, Yeni Şafak, got the meaning too. They were more than successful actually in reading the signs and vocabulary of resistance. But they also overread the play and decided that the forum scene in which the play opened to the spectator was a reference to Gezi, a deliberate reference to Gezi. And they were implying that this play was scheduled knowingly as a hideous support to the dissenters who want to overthrow the government of people, referring to the rightful government and national will as the AKP, the ruling party, gets around 40-50% of votes in the elections. The Germans always conspired against the Turks, and this is a notion that these people have. And so the play Enemy of People has become itself an enemy of people in Turkey. So I translated this news coverage of that right-wing paper, and it reads as follows. The headline is "The German Trick," and in Turkish play and trick is the same word, and here it's the second meaning implied here. The play An Enemy of People, performed by Schaubühne Berlin in 19th Theatre Festival, turned into a challenge to the national will. The surtitles translated certain assaults in the play as marauders. Remember the marauders, Çapulcu. The Prime Minister's attack on Gezi protesters as calling them marauders. And they deliberately wanted to agitate the spectator. In the play, where the spectators participated actively, the expressions "the majority is stupid, the majoritarian democracy will perish soon" created surprise in certain members of the audience. And throughout this news article, you have this some members, some spectators, again and again. There's this very conscious blurring, very conscious indirect reference to certain members. I guess they imply that these members of the audience are conscientious AKP voter, right-wing, Sunni believer audiences, but who knows. So the subtitle is "The Goethe Institute presented it." So they are actually targeting the Goethe Institute here. The play almost divided the audience. The play featured a double-faced mayor's behavior against the truth-telling man. And this sentence is just hilarious. While the lines in the play were given in surtitle translation, the scene where Mayor got angry at the truth-telling man was translated as marauder. The truth-telling man reacted the mayor with "You are the real marauder, felon," got a big applause in the house. Some of the theater goers were surprised at the place becoming a scene for politics. And another subtitle, "The majority is stupid, the majoritarian democracy will perish soon." Towards the end of the play, the audience got active roles. The house involved in the dialogue between mayor and truth-telling man. A couple of people in the house insulted the prime minister when they told the mayor, whose words were translated as marauders, "We have one of your kind, he will be the president soon." The play Enemy of People didn't refrain from insulting the people of Turkey by saying, "The majority is stupid, the majoritarian democracy will perish soon." Urging the citizens to hatred and hostility in the anniversary of Gezi, the play got reactions from some parts of the audience. The play will be performed today once again. So this is how the newspaper that attacked Ostermeyer reads, and I'm sure that Ostermeyer doesn't even know about this, and he doesn't need to, but it's so strange that this newspaper can read the signs, actually can understand the connection, can make this similarity So it shows you that yes, your signs, your vocabularies are actually effective, but also it makes you fragile against these attacks and targeting. And this was strange, and a friend of mine actually is writing an article about this Ostermeyer production, and he told me that in each country, for example in Argentina, the spectator reaction was also really interesting. So depending on what part of the world you are, you got different forum scenes, but everyone kind of associated with themselves with the truth-telling, as the news article says, the doctor's part. On the other hand, the play ends with this ambiguity, and it actually implies that the majority attacks the doctor, which means we are attacking the doctor. We are compliant with the power, with the state, and it is not untrue, I think. Because if we really want to make a change, rather than only speaking in the forums, we need to take more active roles. We need to participate in the procedural process. And for example, in Turkey, the forums had waned more or less. Only 1 or 2 forums maybe are still held, but to what extent they are effective is questionable. I mean, they are effective in meaning that they create this community, but they're not legally effective in the ruling and regulation of these local areas. One of the oppositional parties in Turkey, HDP, HDP, the Kurdish party, Kurdish Progressive Left Party, to be more correct, they were in their agenda, they are supporting the radical democracy up against the representative democracy. And when I searched through the internet what radical democracy actually means, I learned that it's more about participating as a citizen to the regulations and government of your own habitat, on your own neighborhood, of your own city. So it requires each and every people to be directly active, not only by vote or by speech, but by actions in the decision-making process and in the execution of these decisions. So I think if we really need a utopian or radical solution, or whatever you have, at least if we need to get away from disillusionment, this radical democracy idea it's really full of promise, in my opinion. And in my article about Antigone and this politics, that was the question that I was trying to imply, actually. Like, the representative democracy is another limit that we need to cross. There are democracies and not one democracy. And I think we need to question the very notion again and again. This was the tragic moment for the ancient Greece, and we are not even able to have this tragic moment. When we do, we are attacked. So what's left is either cynicism or a really cold-blooded self-analysis or questioning. So this is not a resolution, actually. Like, these examples do not resolve in a ultimate suggestion. But if any, I would say that maybe we should still go on thinking about the possibility of a people without falling prey to the public opinion, without falling prey to this orchestrated movement of the multiplicity. Because the moment it gets this perfect choreography, it also becomes a target, and it's very easily dismissed. So, but I'm not suggesting that we should be dispersed either, because then it doesn't put any force to the forefront, or any promise, any belief, and it's always about belief. So these are open questions to be thought, and I'm so glad that theater and performance can still perpetuate this thinking process. Although, as I said, in the face of death, and in the face of the death of a child, my breath is stolen, basically. I can't make this as an intellectual concern. It's also a concern about your humanity, your conscience, your existence, even your strength to go on with this. I don't know. You can understand my confusion, I think. So I will close this program right now with a nursery rhyme dedicated to Berkin Elvan. And see you next month. Goodbye.
Gittin birden, ne oldu çocuk sana? Yok olup gittin birden, nasıl kıydılar sana? Ne zor büyüttüm seni ben. Nasıl kıydılar sana? Ne zor büyüttüm seni ben. Ninni çocuk, uyu çocuk, ölüm yalan, dön gel çocuk. Ninni çocuk, uyu çocuk, ölüm yalan, dön gel çocuk. Zincirlerde çiçek açmış ellerinin yarası. Zincirlerde çiçek açmış ellerinin yarası. Sevgisiz, kefensiz kaldın, soğuktur şimdi orası. Sevgisiz, kefensiz kaldın, soğuktur şimdi orası. Ninni çocuk, uyu çocuk, ölüm yalan, dön gel çocuk. Ninni çocuk, uyu çocuk, ölüm yalan, dön gel çocuk.